Hey, folks, how's it going? It's
Hey,
the
Dave.
Dave and Dujanovic debrief. Debbie, we like to do this every single day after the show where we pick our hottest topic and we talk about it for a little bit longer. And anybody that wants to comment or message, this is your opportunity, folks. Just start typing away. We will get to you.
And we want your comments on our Facebook Live. Today's hot topic on the show was shockingly non-COVID related. It has to do with the 5-year-old in Ogden who got upset at mom because she refused to buy him a $200,000 Lamborghini. So he stole the family SUV, jumped behind the wheel, and drove it for 2 miles until he was on the freeway going 30 miles an hour, driving erratically. And a Utah Highway Patrol trooper thought, I think that's a drunk driver on the freeway. And he pulled the kid over and said, son, what are you doing driving this car?
It's one of the craziest videos I've ever seen in my entire life. And we have Dashcam video of it. And Caitlin is our producer, and she joins us. We probably should have done this before. But Caitlin, you could probably Google and find the Dashcam video. I forgot, we do so much radio. I forget we can do video on our Facebook Lives. But Caitlin, if you wouldn't mind Googling the YouTube video of this 5-year-old boy driving around on the freeway. You've got to see this video. It is absolutely insane. And Debbie, when I first heard about the story, I thought it was a prank. I thought, there's no way this really happened. A 5-year-old gets in the car and just takes off?
Yeah, he's pulled over on I-15. I know you hopped in your own car with your wife, and hopefully you did the driving and not your 5-year-old to check out the route that he probably took. But the question that we want our listeners to weigh in on, or viewers, our Facebook viewers to weigh in on, is this. What do you do to punish the child? If you get that call from the Utah Highway Patrol saying, hey, I've got your kid in custody right here on the side of I-15. We just busted him for driving the family SUV at 30 miles an hour. By the time
you to pick him up,
you get to him, you get there to pick him up, you put him in the back seat of the car, and you drive him home. What's the punishment? Or is there no punishment that fits this crime at all? That was our big question today on the show. We had several people call in and also text in as well. And of course, if you missed the show, we're on every morning from 9 to 11 a.m. talking a lot about COVID, but today the hot topic was the 5-year-old NASCAR driver. So what do you do, Dave? Do you punish him?
I have been thinking about this all morning long, and I have zero idea of the appropriate response. Like, do you spank them? Do you yell or ground or scream? Or
spank anymore?
Do people spank? I don't know.
I don't know. Do they spank?
I don't know. I'm not a spanker. But I look at it and I think, what in the world is the right response? Because you're talking about a 5-year-old, and you've had 3 5-year-olds. I've had 4 5-year-olds, and I don't know. How do you say this? They're not smart. I mean, they're smart, but they're 5, right? They're not teenagers who you can reason with. Not that you can really reason with teenagers, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what you would, because they have no idea of the gravity of the situation and how dangerous this was. How this didn't end in tragedy is beyond me. It makes no sense how this didn't end tragically. He drove for 2 miles.
And before we get to the video, because I know you drove the route that we think it occurred. Let's get to that dash cam video that our producer found of the Utah Highway Patrol officer, trooper, tailing this car on I-15 as yesterday, just before noon. And you can watch it here. I mean, the kid's doing a pretty good job, Dave, of driving. Oh, look, he's brushing up almost to, looks like, was that the barricade there? Or is that they call that the burrow pit that he's about ready to go into? There's a barrier there. Oh, there he goes.
No. This is actually another car.
Getting out of the way.
The car that you were just watching was the car that the officer or the trooper was going to pull over, and he was just about to ready to pull them over, and then he noticed this car right here that you're seeing. That's the kid. Yeah, and that's where he throws on the lights, he hits the siren, and the 5-year-old knows what to do. He pulls over.
Look at him stop that car.
It was incredible.
Oh, goodness. Look at the brake lights are on. It's like he's standing on the brake right now. I can see this happening.
At this point, the officer still has no idea this is a 5-year-old.
Yeah. He thinks
he doesn't know until he peeks in right now.
He thinks he's pulling over an impaired driver, meaning a drunk driver. And turns out this kid can't even see over the steering wheel because, as we later learned during a news conference, he's trying so hard to push the pedals. He's not tall enough to see over the steering wheel.
And watch, the car actually starts rolling away at some point. And you can see the officer or the trooper is like reaching in, trying to help him stop the car. See, it starts pulling away right here.
Goodness. This is what a close call.
It's absolutely the most bonkers video I've ever seen. When you know what's going on.
And so by now, this kid has driven about 2 miles. He's gotten to the freeway. Obviously, thank goodness he wasn't driving the wrong way on the freeway. We've had so many incidents like that lately where adults have been driving the wrong way on the freeways for a number of different reasons. I don't know why, but this kid ends up on the freeway going the right direction. Unfortunately, he's not the right age to be driving. He's 5.
He's 11 years too young. 11 years.
Oh, no. He's officially 25 years too young now if he's my son. He's just bought himself a bus pass until he's 30 years old.
How do you punish a kid that, like, say he's 16 years old, and you say, you remember 11 years ago when you took the car for a joyride? Well, you can't have a license. I'm not signing anything.
Well, and let's I'm going to see if we have anybody commenting on how in the world do you punish your child for this if you get the call from Utah Highway Patrol that your kid was just busted on I-15 driving the family SUV to California. By the way, mom had done something that no parent should do, in my opinion. She had said no when he asked for her to buy him a $200,000 Lamborghini. I mean, this is just what parents do, right? We just run out and buy our kids a $200,000 Lamborghini. So he hops in the car. He gets the keys when sister's asleep. Sister's babysitting. She nods off. And he gets the keys, gets in the car, and starts driving to California. Utah Highway Patrol tweeted out that he had a whole $3 in his wallet that he was taking to California to buy his own Lamborghini. So what's the punishment for this, Dave?
Well, Michelle is a Bauk, has a comment. She said, you have to choose your words wisely to help him understand how scary it is. So thankful that no one was hurt. I totally agree. So thankful no one was hurt. I'm blown away that nobody was hurt. He was driving about 30 miles an hour on the freeway. That's what the trooper clocked him at. And you choose your words carefully, but there's no words that I can think of. And I say a lot of words. I cannot think of any words that would adequately convey how dangerous this is. It's staggeringly, terrifyingly dangerous. And I don't know how you could communicate that to a 5-year-old.
I do. Let me tell you what, Michelle, you are a better mom than I am when it comes to punishing your kids, because my kids would tell you if they were on this Facebook Live with us, exactly what I would have done. I would have lost my ever-loving mind on them.
Yeah.
We would have gotten in the back seat of the car. We would have driven about a foot, and I would have just unleashed on them. And I would not have stopped yelling for about 30 years. I just my kids will tell you that now. I mean, they're all in their 20s, and they'll say, Mom, remember that time when you lost your mind? And we all laugh about it now. But at the time, first of all, I had the look down, which was the mom look, was like, They knew
Yeah.
the minute I gave them the look. It was like I didn't need to say anything else. And then I finally decided at some point, you know, I'm tired of raising my voice. I'm tired of raising my voice because it's just not a good look. You know, it's like a mom's over there raising her voice again, hair's on fire. And so I decided, went with the whistle. I moved from raising my voice to when they started to ramp up and they were duking it out in the family room over a balloon or something like that. I'd be, instead of saying, hey, really loud, I went to the whistle. I just whistled. And they knew. I said, that's our deal. I'm not going to yell anymore because that's clearly not working with you guys. I'm just going to whistle. And you get one whistle and then there'll be a punishment.
Second whistle, you're dropping the hammer.
Yeah, I kind of was, I was one of those moms. And I mean, kids still love me and we get together all the time and we have good laughs and we hang out together. And I don't know, I go on vacations with them. So it worked out okay for me. I didn't spank. I did not spank. I did not spank my kids.
Mikey Beal, garbage. Why is this news?
Exactly.
Mikey, did you miss this story? A 5-year-old was driving an SUV down the freeway. Like, you cannot question me on whether this is news. It was the #1 news story in the country trending on Twitter. It's because it's a 5-year-old driving an SUV down the freeway. Like, this is massive. This is crazy news. So, Debbie, one of the things, when I first heard this story, this was before the press conference, before we had any of the additional information. My wife and I were fascinated by this. Like,
okay.
we were just blown away by this story. And I'm like, we got to get to Ogden. I've got to see what this drive looks like, because we knew where it started and we knew where it ended. So I thought, you know, I'm going to do a Facebook Live and drive you through this. So I've got the video here. This is me in my minivan. My wife's driving, and this is the route they most likely took. The young man.
She's not 5, right?
The baby, the 5-year-old.
She's your wife's been driving more than a minute, right?
No. She's 5. No, she's an excellent driver.
Look at her. Look at her. Gonna go.
Caitlin, pause right here if you wouldn't mind. This right here, Debbie, is the bridge over the Ogden River. Now, the reason I paused this is because this is a walkway. There's this big long trail along the river that families walk on all the time. In fact, there were families, like 3 or 4 strollers crossing as we were driving in on this. So this is a busy little area, a trail that goes right through. I'm just going to paint the potential horrific things that could have happened. But again, this is families crossing the road. There's a crosswalk that you're going to see. Go ahead and hit play again, Caitlin.
And Dave, as you're talking about this, I want to make sure we're acknowledging that we're getting a lot of comments now about punishing or not punishing. And Kathleen says a 5-year-old is capable of knowing right from wrong. A child does not think that the rules apply to him is either, there's a long post here. So she believes that a child would know that at this age would know the difference. And as we're driving along here, this looks like it could be very, very littered with people at some point.
Yeah. And pause it right here, Caitlin. You saw it. Cars parked along the side. This is the first intersection, and this is not a 4-way stop. This is a stop going north and south, but the east-west intersection is no stop sign. So cars would just be blasting through. Do we think this kid was obeying the traffic signals and the stop sign? Maybe. I don't know, but it's not crazy to think that he just blasted straight through.
It was so fortunate nobody got hurt. The 5-year-old is fine. Oh my goodness, it's just so many opportunities for things to go bad. And thankfully, for whatever reason, thank goodness, everything ended okay. And the trooper was able to pull the kid over and he stopped the car. I mean, he didn't give chase.
Right. He He didn't slam down the gas and just get
Yeah,
going.
I mean, he didn't put the pedal to the metal because he couldn't reach the pedal.
Oh,
Josette, a good friend of mine, she's posting on our page. I'm curious because she's a mom. I'm a mom. I think the biggest sigh would come out of me. Just put him in the car. I think talking to him like he's 5 is why it's dangerous. Show pics of accidents. Share with him those pictures, and so he doesn't do it again. Sorry, I should put my reading glasses on. Scare him into not doing it again. Oh, Josette, I disagree with you. I think 5 years old is too young to show those horrible videos and pictures that we saw in driver's ed.
Caitlin,
Did
pause right here if you would. Yeah, should we show them the scary pictures? Show them the crazy videos? I don't know. I'm with you, Deb. Can you scare them straight? You know, their super edgy behavior. I don't know how effective that is if it becomes traumatizing. This little part where I paused right here was fascinating to me. This is the Ogden Police Department. I mean, how wild is that he just happens to drive straight past the Ogden Police Department? And it wasn't Ogden PD that picked him up. It wasn't until he got onto I-15 that UHP picked him up.
We're talking about the wild ride that a 5-year-old took. If you're just joining us, and his parents' SUV after he got mad at mom, as 5-year-olds do, that she would just not plop down the $200,000 that would take to buy him a new Lamborghini.
Mom's cheap.
And so he drops in the car. In case you're wondering, and you missed the story on Dave and Dujanovic, we talked about this at 9:30. We did 30 minutes on this. He found the keys and hopped in the car while his older sister, he's 5, and I don't know how old she was, but she's definitely, I would say, maybe in her 20s. She said she just nodded off, and as 5-year-olds do, he took advantage of the opportunity. Opportunistic. Rick Hardman says, "Ugh, this is tough. I think it's different now than it may be COVID-19. I think the first thing is to ask lots of questions and try to figure out what mindset that boy was in. I would hesitate to punish the boy, but I would want to make sure he understood the seriousness of what he did and how he cannot do that again. I think the keys will likely be hidden." Here's what I thought about the keys, and we didn't talk about this on the show. This is why we do the D2 after party here on Facebook. I would buy a gun quality safe. And I would, I mean, if it's not a fingerprint, it's definitely, a 7-digit code or whatever to get into the thing. But I would be afraid they did it once. Maybe I'd do it again. I mean, I'm going to show that video again of him driving, Dave, unless you've got more here that you want to show us of all the horrible things that could have happened.
If you're wondering where this was, there's another intersection that he likely would have blown through. This is kind of in the Ogden Temple area. So if you know where the Ogden Temple is, then you have a good idea where this is. So we just passed the police station. Up here on the left is Lindquist Field, where the Ogden Raptors play baseball.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been there many times. And if baseball was playing right now, I may have been crossing the street, except that this did happen at noon. So usually they don't play games at noon. They're usually later in the evening. But it's definitely a busy area. There's no question. This was in a country road.
It's fairly easy to get to the freeway from there. Basically, it's a straight shot to 24th Street. You turn right, and you can stop the video now. Who cares about this guy's face? But you take a right on 24th, and you drive for maybe another half mile to a mile to the on-ramp, and then you turn left, and you're on I-15. So it wasn't a terribly difficult journey to get to the freeway for this 5-year-old. It's a right turn and then a left turn. Now there's some space in between, but it just incredible that this child would know how to navigate at all. I mean, you could see even driving on the freeway, it was pretty good driving. Like, all things considered, it was exceptional driving.
If you're just joining us, hello, I'm Debbie Dujanovic with Dave Noriega. We co-host the Dave and Dujanovic Show Monday through Thursday on KSL News Radio, and you can get to us by saying, Alexa, play KSL News Radio, or you can also listen to us at 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, also available on the KSLNewsRadio.com. We also have a free KSL News Radio app as well. And we're talking about the 5-year-old from Ogden who got bummed that mom said no to buying him a Lamborghini, as 5-year-olds do. I don't know what color he wanted, but I'd go for red. She said no. And so he hopped in the car. He's driving to California. Family SUV, drove to California at $3 in his pocket. He's going to go buy himself his own Lamborghini. He didn't get there, though. We've shown you the video, the dash cam video from the Utah Highway Patrol, because a trooper spotted him on I-15 and didn't know what was going on. Felt like there was an impaired driver that they needed to pull over, and no kidding, the kid stops. Look at him.
Incredible that he knew to stop.
On the brake right there. So
I couldn't believe he didn't hit the barrier. Like, how do you not run into the barrier? He's parked beautifully in between the lines.
When I saw this story breaking yesterday and all the news coverage of it, I immediately thought, Dave's dad, I'm a mom. We've parented through the terrible 5-year-old years. In fact, it's amazing. I felt like the terrible 2s were easy compared to the years that followed. So I wondered, what would I do to punish my kid if this was me taking the phone call that, hi, this is Trooper so-and-so from the Utah Highway Patrol. I have your 5-year-old son in custody. We've just pulled him over for driving the family SUV down I-15 at 30 miles an hour. I would lose my mind. And this is where I feel as though we needed to crowdsource this. What is a better form of punishment? One of our listeners texted in during the show, Dave, and we didn't have time to share this. And I thought this was possibly a good form of punishment. Make him pick up trash. It's a family affair. Everybody is now paying the price for what the 5-year-old did. We're all going to go pick up trash in the community. Community service. Yes,
not a bad idea. Like something, right? Something has got to be, the child's got to be able to tie the punishment to the crime, right? They've got to be able to say, oh, I did this, so I don't ever want to do that again because I don't want to pick up trash or whatever the punishment is. But I can tell you, as I was watching the video of him driving, I just was dumbfounded that he could drive so well, because as the trooper was describing it, he's so small. I mean, he's a big 5-year-old, but still so short that he had to slink down and reach his feet to get to the pedals, which brought his head down, and he's trying to peek over the wheel. The trooper's he could barely even see the lanes. So it was incredible that he was able to control it as well. One of our messengers said, you know what, I used to sit on my dad's lap when I was little, and I used to drive. Dad would work the pedals and I would drive. Maybe he has some experience, maybe he has some experience driving with dad.
Something else that you hate to even think about, but cars back in our day didn't have airbags. Cars today do. So I never put my kid on my lap when I went out and then allowed them to drive, because I'd done stories on airbags that had inadvertently deployed and injured or even killed. In fact, in Utah back in the 90s, and it's going way back, we had sadly had a child killed by an airbag long before there were warnings. Oh, really? And his death was the catalyst for warning about doing something like that, like putting your child in the front seat. You can now see those airbag warnings in cars, Dave. So I wouldn't take a chance as a parent. But one of this other listener, Facebook followers, says kids play video games all the time where they have to drive. I mean, I play Grand Theft Auto with my kids, and I can't get off the curb. I'm doing donuts on the curb. They're laughing, but my kids were amazing Grand Theft Auto drivers by the time they were 12.
Yeah, I don't think the 5-year-old is playing Grand Theft Auto, but Mario Kart 100%.
sure.
Right? The concept's pretty simple, right? Just keep it on the road. A 5-year-old playing video games knows that, but to actually be able to do that was absolutely wild.
I love Heather Larson's comment on our Facebook Live right now. If this kid is smart enough to know what a Lamborghini is and where to buy one, he was on the way to California, Heather. You're right. He probably knows how to drive.
He was headed southbound on I-15, exactly the way you get to California. I wonder if he would have taken, I-80 East, or if he would have gone all the way down to St. George. We just will never know. But one of the wild things, Debbie, that I couldn't believe happened. So yesterday, when my wife and I were talking about this, and I was telling her, honey, you would not believe this story, and I'm explaining it to her. We're in the Walmart parking lot, and Caitlin, I think, do you have the video or do you have the pictures? I'm in the Walmart parking lot, and there's a Lamborghini Diablo just sitting there in the Walmart parking lot. Like, how does that happen? What are the chances?
Yeah. This story is peppered with coincidence.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. He didn't need to go to Cali, just needed to go to Centerville.
Marina Martinez posted on Facebook, yes, you should punish, not harsh, but it's not okay. And that's what we're trying to figure out here. I mean, we've shown you the video, we've shown you the drive, which we thought was the drive, and it seems as though it would be extremely serious. Look, he wasn't taking a country back road to get to the freeway. He was driving over some pretty busy streets, as Dave pointed out when he did his Facebook Live of the course or the route that we think, or Dave thought, that this child could have taken. So you got to have some form of punishment. And Dave is like throwing up his hands for the last 6 hours. Like, I don't know what I would do. I would yell because I would yell. That's just how I was with my kids. And I recognize this was not as good. I didn't spank, but I did yell. And my kids knew. I gave them mean mom look. It was like, but I got tired of yelling at my kids. Now, this is something I probably would lose my mom mind over. And I would be going through my head, Dave, about that route and all of the what ifs. And that's why I would freak out on my kid. But that's probably not good. There's probably better forms of punishment. I do like the idea of the community service. Unfortunately, the whole family would have to do it because you can't just send the 5-year-old driver out to pick up trash on the freeway by himself because he might get hurt. Which is so great.
This kid is completely and totally protected. He will never stub a toe, because if you can drive for 2 miles and steal the family car when you're 5 and come away with no damage to anyone, no vehicle, your life is charmed. You have nothing to worry about. This kid is protected.
All right, I'm going to put my reading glasses on because we saw how well I did on the last comment without reading glasses. Corey Algier has a comment here. Given the fact that the child thought $3 was enough to get to California and buy a Lamborghini. I know, isn't that so cute? He thought $3 was enough to get to California and buy a Lamborghini. It's hard to think that he's capable of forward thinking and knew the consequences of his actions. Sure, a 5-year-old has an idea between right and wrong, but it's my opinion he had no idea of the seriousness of this act.
No.
What's the worst thing you did when you were 5, Dave?
I remember nothing. Oh, not when I was 5. The worst thing I did when I was probably 10 or 11. I almost set the entire park on fire because I was blowing up G.I. Joes with fireworks from my brother's illegal stash of Wyoming firecrackers. And I was blowing up my G.I. Joe guys, and it landed in some weeds, and it started, spreading. And we're like stomping it out and throwing dirt on it. Fortunately, it didn't spread, but that was the worst thing I did. I almost burned down that entire park because it was around some ponds by my house, and there's weeds all over the place. That thing would have gone up in flames. It was,
was
the middle
like
of July.
Out of the Sandlot where all the kids come running over to help you out. Like, come on. Yep. Everybody's safe. All your best buddies are trying to save you from getting in trouble with mom.
And the best was one of my buddies, his dad was like the volunteer fire chief.
Of course.
So
Nice. So, well, the
how
worst
about
thing
you?
yeah, well, the worst thing I did when I was 5 years old is I intentionally got on the wrong school bus, after school to go home with my friend. I think her name was, Tammy or Lisa. Anyways, we were both 5, and we, devised a plan on the playground to have me go over to her house. Now, this is 1972. There are no cell phones. There was no way for my mom to track me via GPS. And she went to the bus stop with my sister to pick me up. She walked, it was 2 blocks away. And kindergartners, we got bused. I mean, I think this was the first year they had kindergarten actually in Arizona, and they bused us home because they didn't trust us to walk home. So I didn't get off the bus. And I didn't get off the bus, and I didn't get out because I'd gone home with my friend who lived across town. So I got off her bus, and I hadn't told my mom. So
And
my
now
mom
you're lost to the world, right?
she thought I'd been kidnapped because she asked the bus driver, "Where's Debbie?" And the bus driver's like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
And so she runs home 2 blocks and puts my sister in the car and drives to the school, and she catches a few teachers as they're leaving because I was the afternoon kindergarten session. She goes, "Where's Debbie?" And they're like, "I don't know." She runs in the office, "Where's Debbie?" And they're like, "I don't know." So, she ran home, and this took about 2 hours. She drove the whole route. She was frantic driving around the neighborhood, and then she gets home and the phone's ringing, and it's this gal's mom calling, my mom to ask permission for me to continue to play at her house for the rest of the afternoon. And my mom said, "I'll be over there in like 30 seconds."
Oh, geez.
And she put me in the car, and she didn't say a word. She didn't say a word to me.
And that
And
was probably worse.
I remember this very vividly. We went in the kitchen, and I tried to explain myself of why I wouldn't, because I always had to ask permission everywhere I went, Dave. My parents were very strict, and my mom was always on top of where we were all the time. She always knew where we were. So she said, "I can't even talk to you. I am so upset at you right now. I can't speak to you. You need to go wait for your father to come home, and you need to do that in your bedroom." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is it. It's over for me." And I went in my room and I cried for hours. I cried for hours, and my dad came home, and I knew it was over, and he walked in the room and he sat down and he said, "What did you do today?" And I explained it, and he said, "I think you've punished yourself enough, and I won't punish you anymore. So get ready for dinner, come to dinner, clean up your face for goodness sakes."
Your
And
puffy face.
this will never happen again. It
Yeah.
will never happen again. And I never went home on the wrong bus with a friend after school without making arrangements with my mom. So sometimes it's just the idea of being punished, at least in my 5-year-old life, that was enough for me to set myself straight.
Yeah. Well, it's a wild story. We'll wrap things up. Caitlin, let's watch that video one last time for people that are just joining us. It's the 5-year-old that stole the family car, drove it 2 miles, got on the freeway, the busiest freeway in the entire state, and got pulled over by this UHP trooper. Nobody was hurt. He wasn't hurt. The car wasn't crashed. An absolutely spectacularly crazy story, and just so grateful, just so happy that everybody's okay, shocked that everyone is okay. But thanks a lot for your participation in the show. If you ever want to tune in to me and Debbie, you can hear us Monday through Thursday from 9 to 11 on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM. Debbie, any parting thoughts?
No, we're back tomorrow, and we hope you all will stay safe and tune in tomorrow right after Utah's Morning News. Actually, tune into Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, and then make sure you stick around as Dave and I take a deep dive into the biggest stories of the day. So we'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.